You're up 2-0.
Why does
What's
it
the story?
seem
Are you not happy, or you're only half happy, or
Still to be happy about.
you're up 2-0?
Job's not finished.
that for some
Job finished?
athletes,
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
My brain,
that
cannot-
sports
it
is
cannot
more than
process
just
failure.
a game.
It will not process failure, because if I sit there and have to face myself and tell myself you're a failure, I think that's almost worse than death.
I'm gonna ask you a crazy question. After we split
Why
apart,
does it seem
were you trying to get more
that they're wired
championships than me?
differently?
Absolutely.
You were.
Absolutely. I knew you were going to get one because of the energy, going into Miami and D-Wade and everything that was there. I knew you were going to get that one. So I knew I had to get at least 2 or 3. I wanted you to get that because I needed that. I wanted that. Like, I wanted people to say, see, this is what they're missing here. This is what they gave up for. Kobe should have been the one to go. I needed that. I wanted that. I wanted everybody to hate me. I wanted to fuel off of that and just come back with so much anger, so much vengeance. Right after you won, I went out to the track and I ran. I did my conditioning, I did my drills, I did my weights, I did my 1,000 shots, I did everything humanly possible to get myself ready. I needed that. I was like, all right, yeah, good.
I needed it too.
Sports is a tough one. I think it's similar to people coming out of like army or military. It's you have this structure, you have purpose, and also a lot of them they would get their significance through their performance. Like, you don't know when your career gonna end. You can get the injury and you're done, and you can get it at any moment. So for a lot of them, their sport is part of their
Join me
identity.
in
So the
Austra
moment they stop,
Putnina
they
as
lose
we
part of their
explore
identity.
why sports is
Who
more
am I
than
without
just
my
a
sport?
game.
That's all I have been doing.
If something standing between you and your happiness, it was for me. I had to face my depression and the constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal and I want to share that with you. As a gift to you, we've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference. And that's where our sponsor BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor BetterHelp support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today.
As a teenager, I decided to live better, so I gave up the meat, eggs, and cheddar. At 20 and 30, I wanted more, so I strengthened my mind and my core. Living a life that is healthier and wealthier because I choose health.
All right, guys, welcome back to the I Choose Health podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Lessie. Today, we're joined by the incredible Austra Putnina, former basketball player with a background in sports psychology. She's a mindset and resilience coach. She's also the voice behind not one, but 2 inspiring shows, The Wisdom in Action and Chase the Impossible podcast, where she dives deep into the power of human potential and the mental strength it takes to keep moving forward. Austra has dedicated her career to helping athletes and everyday people harness resilience, reframe challenges, and step boldly into growth. Get ready for a conversation that blends experience, science, and powerful wisdom from someone who truly knows what it means to chase the impossible. Austra Putnina, welcome to the I Choose Health podcast.
Thank you. I feel like, wow, what an intro.
So, Austra, you're the host of Wisdom in Action and Chase the Impossible. And you often say your episodes for both podcasts highlight amazing people with unique and inspiring stories to tell, and they're experts who spent decades mastering their craft. When speaking to these people, what do you think separates them from the average person?
I think there's, well, like everything, there's more than one thing. A big one that I can say is action. actually taking action, because a lot of times it's not about being the smartest, it's not about having the best strategy, it's not about any of those things. A lot of it is actually about the doing, because you can't, even when it comes to growth, getting better, you can't really get better without doing the do. And it's something that I see a lot. Like, I definitely have been in that boat where I'm like, I would like, it was literally the first 7 years of my life in like self development, which I was lucky enough to get in it like early enough. But first 7 years, a lot of it was just me consuming stuff and knowing it, but I wasn't living it. I was just like afraid of taking action and overcoming my fears and limiting beliefs and all that kind of stuff. Where the biggest changes in my life as well started to happen when I actually started to do the stuff and implement it. And that's been like a big thing that I have seen that separates people out. Because what happens is, as you do, you actually start to bridge the gap, or like you start to create the gap between you and somebody who doesn't do. That's how you actually get better than the person next to you. That's really all it is, just repetition. Kind of, it's not as glamorous as this like, oh, this like secret formula. You actually just have to do, you have to show up, and you have to be consistent.
Yeah, definitely. Now, why do you think some people are content with a normal or even subpar experience, while others seem incapable of doing anything in an ordinary way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends from person to person, but big one that I have seen is that for some people, sadly, or in some ways luckily, they don't have enough pain. Because a lot of times what makes us to change is the pain. Or and I have seen this a lot with people that are like driven with helping others. They have gone, what drives them is actually them having gone through some sort of pain where they don't want others to experience the same. So they do their best to actually help them to avoid it, or find ways to like either shorter their pain or help them avoid having it, or even like just cut the time that they might need to learn the lessons.
Okay. So you attend your bachelor in sports, applied sports psychology at LGMU. For those who are not aware of what sports psychology is and your personal interest in it, can you explain to us what sports psychology is? I know many people think of it as something only for athletes. How can these principles also be applied to business, relationships, and personal development?
Usually the way I describe it is that it's the mental side of the game. So like a lot of times you see that the physical, and that's a challenge with sports psychology. You can't really measure somebody's growth in like confidence on paper. Like a lot of times you can feel that, you can sense that. And even with that, like sometimes it's like one thing that I did, like when I started self development, I would write like some answers to some questions from like books or whatever. And I knew that I had low self esteem. Like that was back in like, I think like 2012 or something like that. And I knew I had like so low self esteem and I was insecure and all those things. But then when I would go back and I would read over, I'm like, oh, I had no idea it was this bad. So it's kind of like the way I usually describe it is that the mental side of the game. It's all the like you see somebody who is like like they have free throw and they miss it. Like you have nothing that it technically is getting in your way to shooting it, but then you go and you miss it. And or there's like some people that I have worked with where they would have like some literally like in some ways even like trauma response or anxiety before they have to go and compete. That's like their body is like associating or like subconscious associating it with something that is like dangerous to go and compete, with all the expectations and pressure and everything. And those are the things that a lot of people like kind of don't see. How it applies to everyday person, it's like we all want to be more disciplined, more resilient, and mentally strong and confident. A lot of it is the mental game. Like it doesn't matter what field you are in, whether it's sport, business, or literally like being a parent. That's like that's a tough job.
Yeah.
You know it.
It definitely is.
And that's where like that it can apply to anything. And I think a lot of us, we do want to be like, I do see, it's kind of sad. I see it a lot, especially with people that I'm talking to, even like people in my life, where a lot of them, the challenges they're currently facing in their life, they're mental. A lot of them, they're mental to the point where their body responds physically, anxiety, depression, some sickness as well. So it literally applies to anybody. You don't even have to be in like this like high achiever. Sometimes it's just like, I just want to be a better mom. Like,
Mm,
I want to be strong for myself so that I can be strong for my kids, you know?
right.
So, or just to keep myself together, you know,
Yeah.
like when life is hitting you and you never know when it's going to hit you, it doesn't give you like, in 2 weeks, I'm going to show up with your next challenge kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of also how I approach resilience. You, you don't build resilience by doing easy things. You
Yeah.
build resilience by doing hard things, and you do them. If you want to be resilient, there's two ways to go about it. You do it consciously and intentionally, or life will make you become resilient through
Mhm.
its events. And all of us will go through at least one experience that is really hard for us in our lives. And that's how I look at doing the hard things. It's kind of like it's your way to preparing for when life hits you, you're more ready mentally because you have built that mindset of like, I got me.
Mhm.
I can find a way, I will figure it out.
Yeah. And it reminds me of what we had David Atkins on a couple of weeks ago, a motivational speaker, and he was saying that life doesn't give you a warning shot, right? Like things just happen, and you have to be ready for it. And so that's really, really keen point you made there. So, Austra, from your coaching experience, what are the most common mental roadblocks that athletes face when striving for the next level or when transitioning out of sports into everyday life?
Auto sports is a tough one. I think it's similar to people coming out of like army or military.
Mhm.
It's you have this structure, you have purpose,
Right.
and also a lot of them they would get their significance through their performance. And now, like, and I literally when I was studying, we had to do research on this about like there's people that literally they fall into depression. And another thing with athletes is like you don't know when your career gonna end. You can get the injury and you're done, and you can
Mhm.
get it at any moment. And also, your career window to perform is short because of the biology. At least if you want to perform at the highest level. So it's short window. You can get injured at any moment, and a lot of the athletes, for them to be at the level that they're at, they had to be training since they have been kids. So for a lot of them, their sport is part of their identity. So the moment they stop, they lose part of
Mhm.
their identity. So it's not uncommon for them to fall into depression. Um, because they have lost their significance and also their purpose. Like,
Right.
who am I without my sport? That's all I have been doing, all I have been focusing on 100% all my life, and now it's gone.
Right.
And so I think for a lot of them, big challenge is finding the next purpose or the next thing that will keep them going. And on top of it, a lot of the people don't understand them because it takes insane discipline 24/7 with all the practice, the diet, the recovery, sleep, everything. You need to have everything on point, and it can be taken away from you at any moment,
Mhm.
and and you're instantly forgotten.
Mm.
People just move on to the next. So there's not also like maybe it's better now. But when I was doing research, there wasn't like too much support put into place with like how can you even prepare for retirement, even
Mm.
financially, emotionally? What are like how can you set yourself up to even like have at least some options of what you can do when to start to transition out of your sport? A lot of the athletes they don't have the plan because they also have to be 100% focused to perform their best. So
Mhm.
it's a really tough transition for them to go through.
Interesting. So, when someone suffers a crushing setback, whether it's losing a championship, failing in business, or personal loss, what's the very first step you recommend to start rebuilding confidence and momentum?
Yeah, first of all, welcome to being human. It's usually what I start with. It's part of human experience. We all gonna fail. We all gonna have setbacks. I think big one, and this is like coming from one of my mentors. She was telling me like, what do you make it mean?
Right.
Okay, you failed. You had this setback. What do you make it mean? You're a failure. You're not good enough. Like, what do you
Mm.
make it mean? Or maybe it's just like, oh, there's many lessons coming. Like, what can I learn from it? Like, not to add too much power or meaning to it, because I also like how Goggins, he describes his first attempt as like, or people say like, oh, you failed. No, this is my first attempt. Like, and I think it kind of is, we have this fear of failure or setback, or, you know, like as this is like this bad thing that will happen to us. But it's like, well, 90% of the time, even like all the successful people, like they're gonna miss like a lot of the shots, a lot of the like their businesses that I want to start. Usually they succeed on like seventh business, and everybody is like, "Oh my gosh, you're overnight success," and they don't see the like 10, 15 years of just failing and failing and failing. And I think when it comes to building back your confidence, that's a tough one because you can have like a big hit. So that's where like that first question is really important. Like, what do I actually make it mean? Especially what do I make it mean about me? And then you can even challenge that. It's like, if you say that you're a failure, am I? Like, what? Let's define failure. Like, is it you failing or is it you giving up? Because you giving up, that's 100% failure. Like, that's why for me, like, I'm currently doing 75 hard, and there's been many times, because I have been doing it for years, where I have failed. And I have redefined my failure, where my failure is if I don't start the next day, if I give up. Like, if I don't start the next day, I give up on my promise to myself. Like, that's me failing. It's because anything can happen. Things can go wrong. Like, I'm aware of that. I have had enough human experience to see that. And still, you can improve despite that failure or setback. Or you might even, and that's another thing that I like to use as a reminder to people, is that many times when people fail, actually, they're going a step back. They're like, before they even start, they have this thought of, what if this happens and I don't succeed? And I'm like, you haven't even started yet. Like, you haven't even started and you already think about failure. But then once they have failed, they're like, oh, well, this was waste of time because I'm back at square one. And I'm like, no. Like, imagine a game. You go through the game. You now are in front of this like big dragon that you have to beat. You lose to the dragon. You go back, but you have gone the steps. You know the roadmap. You know what you will need to go through. So you're actually not failing. You're aware of your mistakes. You're aware of all the things that you did wrong. And that in itself is an invaluable lesson, because now you know what are mistakes not to take, or what are the steps to avoid that led you to the failure. So every failure is like a chance to learn. So I think the biggest thing is to just refine. There's two things: refine how you look at the failure, but also building back your confidence. A lot of there's a simple way how I describe confidence. It's keeping your promises to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, go and do it, and you're going to build trust with yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the less you doubt yourself. And the more, when you say you're going to do something, you know you're going to do it. But for you to get to that point, you actually have to do the stuff. So if you say, today I'm going to go for a run, and you don't, then soon enough, the moment you say I'm going to go for a run, you're going to have this voice in your mind. Yeah, right. Sure, you're going to go for a run. You lose your trust with yourself. And it's the same with any other relationship outside of yourself. It's exactly the same with yourself. So you have to build that relationship with yourself where you trust yourself that when you say you're going to do something, you go and do it. But also be mindful what you attach your confidence to. What are you basing it on? Is it on something external? How much did I achieve? What's my performance? All those things are important, but they don't define you.
Yeah.
And those are some of the things that I think are really important when it comes to like confidence and failure.
Yeah. And on that note, I know that, high achievers often walk the line between greatness and burnout. How do you coach someone to push themselves toward excellence without breaking down mentally or physically?
Yeah, that's it's a challenge. Because super high achievers, they kind of they don't really have the limit of how far they can push themselves, and they can push themselves to the burnout. I think big one is if you touch a hot stove and it's hot, you learn your lesson. So sometimes we need to go through that experience to learn the lesson first. because all of us, we think we are invincible until we learn that we're not. And we do have human bodies to take care of. And I think big one also is just finding that, like for example, how I approach it now, or let's say how I approached it before. Let's say I have busy season coming up with like business and work and everything. So usually I would be, or like the initial response would be, oh, I don't have time to like exercise or diet or anything like that. Like, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. This is the priority. I need to focus on this. Now, what I do the moment I enter a busy season, 75 hard. Which is, it seems kind of like it doesn't make sense because you add like to workouts, diet, water, reading, and all that. But for me, I cover all my basics that I need to still perform and take care of myself. That's how I take care of myself. I exercise, I eat well, eat well. Yeah. I was about to say wealthy, and I'm like, and with those things, even though it adds more, it's not even more pressure at this point, because at this point it's more like a habit for me. But it's something that I have noticed that, first of all, I don't feel bad about myself because I know that I have taken care of myself. I have been drinking water. I have been like eating well. I'm moving my body so I can actually show up better. And I don't start to neglect my work as a result. Or let's say, like in my case, I don't have family, but if somebody has family, now they start to neglect their family because of they're super focused on what they're doing. They can start to resent what they're doing, or they start to question what am I doing this for, kind of thing. So I think I personally don't believe in balance. So I think it's also being aware that when I'm in this season, let's say I'm super focused, I go all out. Set boundaries. Like for me right now, I have set boundaries where like some people, they want to meet up with me, and I'm like, at very best we can try a weekend, but I can't promise that because currently I'm in the season of no, where I'm focused on what I need to focus on, and there's a lot for me to focus on, and including myself. Because before I'd be like, yes. Then I start to even resent the people that I would meet because I'm taking that time away from what I actually want to focus on. And I feel like I'm just trying to be this like good friend, or, just be there for others. But then I start to neglect myself, and I start to neglect that relationship. Where also, if I set that boundary or I communicate that I have this season, if people don't get it, it might tell to me some stuff I need to know about that relationship. Because I'm really understanding also myself about people when they go through like busy seasons. I'm like, okay, get it. If you need any help, let me know. But it's kind of like once you are a high performer, you kind of like, okay, I get it. Yeah. But avoiding burnout is tough. I think big one is take care of your basic needs. Make sure you actually sleep. Make sure you don't eat like insanely bad, which is something that I see a lot of people do, because when you put all your willpower, which is limited resource every day, by the end of the day, we have the least amount of it. So that's where you can have the worst decisions about like your health and all that. So I would say, even like if you can, start your day with some kind of movement, because by the end of the day, that's the last thing you'll want to do. You'll just want to go to sleep. So I think it's just being aware, and awareness is big one. Just like being aware. How do I feel? Where's my body? Where's my energy? Because sometimes we think that working more or doing more is better solution, but it's like, what if you focused on efficiency? What if you focus on being more efficient and doing the things that actually move the needle the most? You will see how much time you actually have, because a lot of the work most of the times is just being busy. And then you will actually have more time to do other stuff. And with that, you will feel more fulfilled. But yeah, I think just like make sure you take care of your basic needs and move your body. At least that's been something that's been super. And third one is socialize, like at least with the right people, not people that drain you or are toxic. Preferably not, but people that give you energy. Like a lot of times for me, I might even just go home, spend time with family, and I feel more regulated. Or like I feel recharged. And there's people that I would meet where I just have one conversation with them, and I just feel good. So I would say that's another important one.
Yeah. It's interesting because you said something that Joe Gagnon, who's the author of Intentional Living. We had him on a couple of weeks ago, and he said the same thing. He said the most controversial thing he says is that he doesn't believe that there's such a thing as balance. And so, I just found that interesting because if it's one thing I'm constantly sharing with people is to have a balance. So that was even a challenge for me to be like, okay, let me think about that. And, I understood what he was saying, what you're saying is here as well.
Yeah, and I heard Andy Purcell actually this morning. I was listening to his episode, how he was talking about not balance day to day, but balance season to season, where you might have busy season for 10 years. And then after those 10 years, you have more season when you're like, oh, now I can give, now I can be present, now I can, I'm in a better place where I can actually have energy for kind of giving and just chilling or whatever people do in that season. But
Right.
I think it's kind of looking zooming out, and that can help. But also it's for me, I don't see balance me just doing nothing or just resting or chill. I don't enjoy that. I rather just work, train, be active. That's my balance. That's how I balance. For me to balance out all the business stuff, I need to exercise. That's when I take care of my body and I can actually mentally shift off, focus on the training. Or sometimes I have the best thoughts on my workouts. And that's how I find that balance, whatever that is, we each have different balance anyways.
It's interesting because I was listening to there's a song by the artist Big Sean, and he said a word that I can't say here, but he was like, F of AK, I feel better at work, right? And so I just found that interesting where sometimes I feel more within my purpose when I'm doing work versus being on vacation, even though vacation is also times where I try to utilize that time to get better. And so my workout times, my workout sessions are even more intense during my vacations, right? So, because I'm trying to be a lot better than I was throughout the regular season.
Actually, with this, I have seen a big, I don't want to call it a challenge, but it's kind of a pattern with high achievers is that they love what they do so much that it's hard for them to stop. That's the challenge when it comes to burnout. It's not that they burn out because of all the pushing, I have to do this. They're so passionate that they can end up I had one of the guests on my podcast talk about it, how we were recording at 11 p.m. his time. And he's like, sometimes I work until 1. My challenge is to actually stop, make myself to stop because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. I want to move things forward. And it's you need to learn to stop. You need to learn to press pause and go to sleep. And I think that's a challenge with high performance is our boundaries that we need to put in actually are to take care of ourselves. You finish at this time, you go to sleep. For me, I was in such a good rhythm until I think last week I started one day, I ended up working until 1 and I'm here we go again. I need to set back that boundary. Because that's the challenge is you get so into what you're doing and it's also with high achievers, it's getting it done mindset that you have to get it done today. And then you end up working until late or in some cases, maybe even early. You never know. And that's been a challenge that I have seen for a lot of high performers when it comes to burnout is actually you literally have to schedule in your calendar self-care or exercise or this is a time when I have to shut the laptop off.
Yep. Man. So I want to shift direction a little bit here and I want to focus on an athlete that we all majority of us kind of see him as synonymous with greatness. And I want to speak about the late, great Kobe Bryant. And, after losing to the Spurs in the 2003 Western Conference Finals, Kobe Bryant gave this response to the reporter in the post-game interview. And I'm just going to put that clip here.
Well, I just hate losing. It's a tough loss. They played extremely well. You just have to get ready for the off season. Next season for us starts right now.
Can you assess exactly what went wrong? Was it too many injuries? Was it Shaq's foot at the beginning of the year? Can you begin to assess why you lost this series?
No, we have a million and one excuses that we could go to. Fact of the matter is, we're not going to make any. They played better than we did this series. We had opportunities to win it. Didn't go for us. So we just have to regroup. Like I said, next season starts right now, and come back next season and play.
How much harder will you work in this offseason now to get back to the championship?
I push myself to exhaustion.
Kobe, we thank you for your time.
I found his response to be very interesting and very insightful. And for many players at that point, Kobe had just won 3 straight championships back to back, with Shaquille O'Neal and the Lakers team. And for many people, 3 straight championships would have been enough. For Kobe, it wasn't. What does this say about the relationship between contentment and ambition?
I don't think they ever have contentment because it's always about the next. It's like you keep raising your standards, and a lot of them they will like he said he will push himself to exhaustion just to reach the goal. And it's something that I was actually listening Cam Haynes talk to Courtney, I don't remember her surname. She's insanely talented endurance runner, where she beat the second place by overall by 10 hours in one of the races.
Oh, wow.
So she's way above everybody else. And he was talking about this dance with pain, where for majority of the people, which is many people just won't understand it because they don't have that mindset or that relationship with pain, where they find beauty in the pain. They find beauty in pushing yourself past your limits and seeing where is the limit. Because like one of my mentors said to me, I said to him oh, I really hope to reach my potential one day. And he's like, the best you can do is keep scratching the surface because your potential is limitless. That's all you do. You just keep scratching. And that's where those people, they are so, it's really hard to explain that mindset unless you have it. And I have talked to several people that do have that mindset, where for them it's I will do whatever it takes to get to the goal. And it does, for some of them, it doesn't even matter if they're going to die. That's kind of that level of determination and just sense of mission. It has to get done. And is it healthy? I don't know, but it works for them. And it's something that drives them. And it's something that drives that level of performance. If you want to be not just good or great, but exceptional, that's kind of where you have to go. You have to build that relationship with pain where you find beauty in it. And it's just, for me, it's extraordinary to talk to those people, get to see their mindset, because I have learned a lot of, first of all, I have learned how limited my thinking was, and how quickly I would quit. It didn't take much. It's oh, I feel pain. Quit. Done. Stop. Oh, I don't feel good. Done. For them, it's what do you mean? I don't it's something actually that has stuck with me with what I think it was Goggins who said it, where people would ask him are you happy? And he's I don't know. I don't think about it. I don't focus on it.
Right.
I don't sit, and I actually noticed it the same thing about me. I don't sit here and think, oh, am I happy? Or big one is also feeling good. We give so much power to feeling good. But if you want to get better, you won't feel good. You have to overcome. You have to face. You have to stretch your limits. Get out of your comfort zone. Face your fears, limiting beliefs. None of it feels good.
Yeah.
On the other end, you feel proud. You feel fulfilled. You build that pride and confidence, and all that comes through those steps. But when you go through them, it doesn't feel good.
No. And this way of thinking and approach to not just the game but to life is a term that Kobe came up with called Mamba Mentality. And how can the everyday person, someone who isn't an elite athlete, adopt elements of the Mamba Mentality into their own life or career?
I mean, big one, I can speak more on resilience, where even with that toughness and all that, it's it can be as simple as, what is one hard thing I can do today? Something that is, it doesn't, and again, it doesn't have to be big. It can be as simple I have been postponing to have this conversation for forever. That's my today's hard thing. Every day, choose one hard thing that you can do. Look for ways how you can challenge yourself, or just do things that you would postpone, or you would always find reasons not to do, and we kind of give in to the easy way. Just look for the kind of like the hard way. And it doesn't have to be extreme. You don't have to go and run marathons now, unless you want to. Even though,
Yeah.
like, when it comes to marathons, it's not really the healthiest sport, just so you know. But that's where, like, a lot of it is just looking for those, like, how can I do something? It can be as simple as, like, how can I do something I don't want to do? What is one thing I can do today that I just don't want to do?
Yeah. Now it's interesting because now with Kobe's experience, there was quite the contrast of reaction from tennis player Aaron Krickstein. And going back to 1991, Aaron Krickstein faced a heart-wrenching defeat in the 1991 U.S. Open against Jimmy Connors. The match was an epic battle, and Connors at age 39 came back from a 5-2 deficit in the fifth set to win in nearly 5 hours, a moment that went down in tennis lore. And for Krickstein, rather than rallying immediately or delivering a defiant next start now, which kind of like Kobe's response was like, okay, we need to get ready for next season, Krickstein reacted with profound shock and emotional paralysis. And he didn't sleep for 3 days. He described his state as vegetating at home, completely numb to the experience. Although he gave an interview, Krickstein barely remembers it, and he was utterly emotionally disconnected. And I don't know. I just find this to be a very interesting reaction. What could be, at a psychological level, be the reason for Krickstein's response versus Kobe Bryant's response, who was like, all right, I need to hunker down and just get better next season?
I mean, I'll be just guessing here, since I haven't had a conversation with him. But I think big one is what you focus on. And it also comes back to that, what do you make it mean? And also, it can be devastating if it's something that you have been working on your whole life. Like, if there's something you have been, especially if it's like just like this one chance you have, and in that sport, it's on you. If you don't perform, that's on you. Like, you can't tell that, oh, my team didn't play well or whatever might be the case. It's on you. So, like, you have nobody else to blame but you, and it can be heavy. And a lot of it also, it really depends on the person, how well or intentionally they have been working on, like, the mindset. Because with Kobe, like, few things that I wrote down is that he instantly started to focus on the next. I don't know if this situation there was the next to focus on, which also is an important aspect of it. If it's the last, there's nothing that was your last chance. That's it. And the other thing is the kind of, I think in some ways it's also taking ownership and understanding that, well, first of all, you can't always, or I don't want to say you can't always win. There's people who always win, but there's a reason why they win as well. And a lot of times some of us might, and even like at the peak level, a lot of times people are not willing to go that extra mile. It's not even a mile. Sometimes it's a step, again, in that pain, in that suffering that you need to go through to get to that stage, because it is painful. It is repetitions, but a lot of it is just like repetitions where they get more painful, more uncomfortable, and it can be really draining on you mentally. And same thing is with ownership. It's like with Kobe, he said that, they just were better. That it's a fact. In this day at this tournament, they just were better, and I own it. I'm not giving excuses. I'm not looking for, like, which is another thing that I wrote down, is that, like, he's like, I think I already mentioned that he's not focusing on the past. It's like, oh, we did this, and then you can get into the victim mindset unless you look at the past to prepare for the future. That's different. But in this case, a lot of it sounds like it might have been just overwhelmed. Also, you have all this pressure on your shoulders to perform, and everybody's judging every bad move that you make. They see it, they talk about it, they judge it, and a lot of them, they're sitting on their sofas doing it on top of it. So many people that do put that pressure as well is like they have no idea what you actually are sacrificing. And it can be devastating. And I think a lot of it depends on the support system that the person has. Like, that's a huge role. Like when it comes to
Yeah.
setbacks and failures, the support system that you have, it plays huge role.
I was actually talking to one of my clients about this very same thing with Kobe and Aaron. And, the thing about tennis being like a individual sport and basketball being a team sport came up. And thinking about like with tennis, like it's on you. You have to consistently blame yourself. So the reaction may be, much stronger than in a setting, than in a game where it's a team setting. You think of like, okay, I did my part. Maybe it's the 4 or 5 other guys who
Not high
failed.
achievers though.
Yeah,
They take it all on themselves, even if it's a team sport.
and that's the thing, because I noticed with Kobe was that even though these are like the good sound bites he's given the reporter, like, hey, we didn't play well, but in reality, I think that the we speech is more a cloak for the fact that he's really speaking about himself, right? Like, I think he's kind of covering it up in that, because when he gets to the end of the interview, he's like, I'm going to push myself to exhaustion, right? Whereas like, it sounds like, all right, if I do this, then it may be the thing that's just going to help our team get,
Yeah, I think
across the line.
he's really aware that he's the only person who can control, or like we each are the only people who can control how much we push. So he can control only how much he gonna push.
Mhm.
In his comment about I think he probably still was thinking about I can't know, and we don't have a
Right.
chance to ask, sadly.
Right.
But it's something that it's very interesting that I even like, I'm now like playing basketball myself as well. And now it's really interesting to play now with all the psychology that I know and all the
Mhm.
team dynamics that I can notice. And a lot of it is also like seeing, okay, who is actually blaming the other person? Who is pointing the fingers? Whether it's the teammate or the opponent. And instead of taking responsibility and being like, yeah, I messed up, and you just move on.
Mhm.
Or there's a really good example with like, let's say there's I don't know, let's say we're in offense and somebody makes a mistake. And instead of the first reaction being like, I need to go back and I need to fix it, it's like, oh, you kind of like, oh, and now you're actually losing because you can't
Mhm.
get back. You're not as sharp. You're in your head. So instead of you're focused on the past, instead of, okay, I need to fix it. I need to show up. I need to be the
Mhm.
first back. I need to make sure I show up because I made this mistake. So there's different ways how you can respond to any setback. And it is really interesting, like, what are the reasons why we respond the way we respond?
Mhm.
Because maybe in different situations, somebody might respond differently. I can't comment on Kobe because I don't think like he has insane mindset that I'm pretty sure like he was working on like for decades. Um,
Mhm.
and a lot of it did come from those little tiny wins every day with like overcoming and facing, and you just build that muscle to the
Mhm.
point where like I don't think anybody's unbreakable, but it takes a lot.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to shift gears again, and I want to focus on your podcast. And out of all the incredible guests you've interviewed on both platforms, what's been the most surprising or profound lesson you've personally taken away?
I think the most important lessons are the ones that I actually end up living.
Mm.
So I don't think there's just one. But there's been like plenty where the person says something and the next day I start to implement it. Or they mention something, the next day I shift something in my behavior or something that I'm doing to actually apply it. So I would say like that probably is the main thing, whatever I
Mhm.
actually end up applying, or whatever anybody listening ends up applying, because that's the biggest win for me. And that's partly what I'm trying to do with the podcast, is to help to bridge that gap between like knowing and doing, because we know for the most part we know what we need to do to like get healthier or to like get better financially and relationships, like we know a lot of those things,
Mhm.
but it comes down to doing it. So I would say for me the biggest is like the lessons that I actually end up doing or applying.
Now, between speaking with athletes and experts, have you noticed a difference in how they frame their mindset and resilience?
Uh, there's a lot of similarities. I think with athlete, there's something different when you push your body and you actually have the physical versus mental pain. You still can push your body as an entrepreneur with like exhaustive hours and all that, but there's different level of resilience that you build when you push the physical. But not every time it transfers to mental, meaning that a lot of people that I would talk to that can push or be uncomfortable physically, they might struggle to like do outreaches or like sales or stuff like that. And it's like vice versa as well. People who can push themselves like mentally. But I would say for a lot of them, a lot of the mindsets overall are like really similar. It's that mindset of one is ownership, so there's less blame game happening on. It's more so that awareness that, well, if I want to make things happen, I actually need to do the work. If I want to get result, I actually need to put in the reps. So there's much more ownership, less like victimhood, and also much more that not always it's belief, because sometimes action comes from the fear, even for the highest performers. So the motivation is not always the same, but the actions are the same. So I would say, like, again, getting back to like the very beginning of when we started, like the biggest thing really is the action and the doing. And I think that's where resilience helps, because you build that muscle of just like doing. And oh, I don't feel like doing, you still go and do it. Oh, I don't want to do it, you still go and do it. And if you do it enough times, that's actually how you will build that like resilient mind.
Yeah. Now, if you had to distill all the wisdom from your podcast into one actionable takeaway for listeners, what would it be?
Take the first step. You don't have to know the whole plan. Like a lot of times we try to map it out from A to Z when we don't even see further than like B. Because what happens is, first of all, like you gain confidence through the actions you take. And also you don't have to start huge. Usually we see the first step. And then as you take the first step, the next step will unravel itself. So I think that the biggest thing is stop thinking too much and go and do. Take action and then reflect and go again and just like keep doing it. But the biggest thing really is get out of your head and start taking action.
Yeah. Well, Austra, I want to thank you so much for just making that time to speak with us today and just giving us a fresh perspective, especially around sports psychology. Like, I think these athletes, we appreciate their talent, but I guess a lot of times we take for granted the mental toll that some of, their playing takes on them, not just while they're playing, but also in their personal life. So just giving us that perspective, fresh perspective, has definitely been helpful.
Yeah, pleasure.
And also I want to give you this time to share with our audience where they can find you and connect with you if they'd like to work with you as well.
You can find me on most social media. I'm most active on probably Instagram. It's my name, that surname, AUSTRA, that PUTNINA. And I also have currently it's like completely fresh. It's just starting off, where I'm building a community with like-minded people. So if anything that you're listening resonates and you want to join it, feel free to reach out and I can give you the details. Like first 50 people I'm actually letting in for free for the first 90 days. So I'm more than happy to help. Feel free to reach out. Any questions, anything, like I'm always up to have a conversation. Anything growth,
Perfect. Well, Austra, thank you so much again. And thank you to the audience for listening in on our conversation today. I'm Stefan Lessie with the I Choose Health podcast. Just reminding you that choosing health is choosing power, possibility, and purpose. This week's choice is about clarity, calm, and connection. In week 27, we're saying to start a 5-minute daily journaling practice. 5 minutes. That's all it takes to clear your mind, focus your thoughts, and tune into what really matters. Science backs this up. According to research by Dr. James Pennebaker at the University of Texas, expressive writing, even for a few minutes a day, strengthens the immune system, reduces stress, and improves emotional well-being. Neuroscientists at UCLA also found that labeling your feelings in writing decreases activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and activates the prefrontal cortex, helping you regulate emotions more effectively. In short, writing helps your brain make sense of your experiences. This week, open a notebook or a note on your phone and just start writing. Gratitude, goals, thoughts, it doesn't have to be perfect. 5 minutes a day can shift your mindset, sharpen your focus, and strengthen your sense of self. Write your way to a better you.